must be lights burning brighter somewhere. Got to be birds flying higher in the skies more blue.
Good morning. Welcome to Right Thinking with Steve Copeland. I'm your host, Steve Copeland, and thank you for tuning in. Let's have a great day. Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here with you again today, and I'm in my normal excited mode. We are having a series of interviews here over the last couple weeks, and what we're going to do today that is everything that Right Thinking Foundation has been trying for years to get further into. The types of people that I'm networking with and having as my guests, they are out there on the front lines doing things to try to make the world a better place. And that's exactly the kind of people that I love being able to be with. And last week, I want to thank Don Green, the Executive Director of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, for just a fabulous interview that he gave us last week. I really felt that the questions of what do people need to do to get started to change their lives when they're not moving in the right direction was addressed and answered. And it's just wonderful to be involved with people like Don Green. And Don Green had introduced me to Tom Too Tall Cunningham, the founder of Journey to Success Radio. And I got interviewed on there a week or so ago by one of his co-hosts, Gary Burleson. And at first I was somewhat disappointed because I had done a lot of research, did a lot of homework to be prepared to be on the show with Tom. But it turned out to be an incredible blessing, and it opened up so many new avenues that are getting ready to happen. It turns out that Gary Burleson, he is involved in a prison ministry, and he's also a Napoleon Hill Certified Instructor. And Tom was very wise to let Gary interview me instead of himself, because what we're doing right now is Gary Burleson is going to be my guest. I'll have him on in just a moment here. And it's just another example of how Napoleon Hill's mastermind works when people come together with a common goal in a harmonious way. And so I hope that all of you are starting to pay attention to these interviews that we're having with Napoleon Hill thinkers. And so today I want to bring Gary Burleson on, and I want to tell you about him just one more thing. Gary Burleson is a wonderful person, and he's got so much that he is doing for other people. He's got the servant's heart, and I'm going to read one thing here before Gary comes on that I think is a good way to bring Gary on. One of the main scriptures that Right Thinking Foundation is based on, Gary's going to connect with this, and I haven't told him this, but it's Matthew 25:36-40. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. That is what we're all about. It's my pleasure to bring Gary Burleson on right now. Gary, you with us?
I am, Steve.
Gary, thanks for being on the show. For the listeners, Gary interviewed me on Journey to Success Radio, and during the show, I made the comment, I'm doing so much talking here about the questions that you've asked me, and I just kept going on and on. I said, I really want to get to know you better, Gary. Perhaps you'll reciprocate and let me interview you on Right Thinking with Steve Copeland. And you accepted, and here we are. So, Gary, I hope you're having a great day, and I'm looking forward to this today. You're an amazing person that just gives so much of yourself. You've got this incredible attitude. Will you tell us how you first got into being your personality that just wants to serve and give to others?
Well, first of all, Steve, thank you for having me on your show. It's quite an honor, and I appreciate the accolades there. I got, it's a mystery, actually, and I got the Lord just put it on my heart about 7 years ago to get involved in jail ministry. And I reached out to a guy in our church who was involved in our church ministry by email and telephone call, and he never returned my emails. He never returned my calls, and I thought, oh, well, I guess they're just not really that serious about jail ministry, and that was it. Shortly thereafter, I saw on the local news station one night a gentleman by the name of Steve Humphreys, who's the director of Focus Prison Ministry. And he said, he was talking about Focus, and he said, we're going to have an information gathering meeting for anyone that's interested in getting involved in prison ministry, a local church, which I just happen to live 2 miles from, on Saturday morning. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to that meeting. And it's kind of a funny story, too, because when I walked in, there was a gentleman there by the name of Wally. And Wally was a prison chaplain for many, many years. He was an older gentleman, very rough, scruffy-looking, long gray ponytail and a gray beard, wearing biker rags, tattoos, and he's standing there at the door greeting people. And when I walked in, he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I'm here to get some information about the Focus prison ministry. He goes, well, why do you want to be involved with it? And it kind of took me aback a little bit because this guy was rather intimidating. And I stood there and I looked at him and I said, you know, I think a lot of guys in jail have given up on themselves and any hope for their future. And I said, I think I can make a difference. And he said, oh, well, come on in. You're welcome here. So I got involved 7 years ago. And right after that, Focus started a new program called the Exodus program, which they instituted in the Knox County Jail, and I live in Knox County. It's a rather large facility. They have 2,500 or so inmates there. And so Focus had actually been approached by the programs director of that jail, and what they wanted to do was teach faith-based classes, and they wanted to give an entire pod to the Exodus program, and all of the men in that pod, 54, would be participating in this program. So that was like a godsend. It was like, you know, they had been trying to get into Knox County Jail with some really good teaching with classes as opposed to visiting once a week and that sort of thing, which is typical. And so they started the Focus program in July of 2010, and I was one of the first instructors in on that. Anyway, I think I kind of lost my train of thought there.
Gary, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So you got into the Focus Prison Ministry in Tennessee in the Morgan County Correctional Complexes where you ultimately went to. And I've looked up the Focus Ministries and Pathway to New Beginnings, and it's a fantastic program. It's got 4 parts to it that I'm seeing here: engaging the workplace, reconciling families, beyond the walls, and beyond the walls, and behind the walls, beyond and behind. There's 2 parts of it. Let me ask you just one question before you explain more of what Focus actually does. It's a powerful prison ministry, and I'm involved with a lot of them all through the country that I'm learning about. And this is one of the better run, larger, organized ones that I've come across. It has a real curriculum, and it's a powerful program. But let me ask you just one question. When the people come into the classes that Focus Prison Ministry teaches, are they volunteers or are they, in other words, a problem that I've run into in Virginia, I don't go in through the chaplain's office. You know, my program is faith-based, but I'm not allowed to evangelize, so to speak. But when you go in through a faith-based program in Virginia, only people that want to volunteer to participate can go into it. They're not required to go in. And so my program in a lot of my prisons, it's mandatory, it's required because it's not faith-based. So in your program with Focus, do people that are not Christians participate in the program?
To answer your question simply, yes, there can be Muslims, there can be Wiccans, there can be Hindus. Because they can't differentiate in the prison. There's as I was saying, in Knox County Jail, I've worked there on Tuesday mornings, and then I go to Morgan County Prison in the afternoons on Tuesday. Tuesday's my jail day. But in the Knox County Jail, they have to apply to be in the program. They have to write an essay as to why they want to be in it, and then they're read and prayed over, and then there's always more that want to be in it because, quite frankly, they have a lot more liberties in the pod than they do in other areas of the jail where they're locked down 24/7. But but it's the people that have come to this conclusion that they're in and out of jail. You know the rate of recidivism, it's 70 plus, and they've finally realized that they just can't quit this cycle on their own. They need help from a higher power. They need God's help. So they're coming into the program hoping that this faith-based program will make a difference. And I'll tell you, I've had people come up to me after they've gotten out to tell me what a difference the program made in their lives. As far as Morgan County, they have a lot of incentive over there because the program at Morgan County is a Malachi Dad program, which has been proven exceptional in other areas of the country, like in Angola, in Louisiana, and in I think it's San Quentin in California, where the prisoners that went through the programs there, the rate of recidivism dramatically dropped. But the rewards to the men, having gone through a year-long program in the Malachi Dad program, is that one day a year, and it's usually right before Father's Day, the prison allows the children of these prisoners to come inside beyond the visitation area into the yard, out where they have their weights and ball fields and horseshoe games and all that stuff, and they block off the yard to all the other prisoners in the prison except for the men that went through the Malachi Dad program for that year. And usually the people that are putting this on, like Focus, they contract with other vendors. They bring in all kinds of games and big bouncy air things, and they have water balloon throws, and they have basketball, and they have games, and they have food, and they have music, and the guys get to spend about 6 hours of a day with their kids, one-on-one. And it's just incredible to see and witness the love and the happiness and the joy between the parents and their children. And this program has actually helped bring and reunite families that were, I don't know if estranged is the right word, but needing reconciliation, needing to put the past behind them and forgive and start afresh. So there's been a lot of good results from it, especially the drop in the rate of recidivism.
Gary, let me interrupt you just for a second.
Yeah.
What you just talked about is one of the most beautiful things I've experienced in the 6 years I've been doing this in prisons, the way that this program is. It is so much further along than most that I see anywhere else. It's a wonderful program. And as I've got it in front of me, when you interviewed me the other day and we finished the interview, one of the things that we talked about was we might have done a better job in explaining what recidivism is. And I said, well, when you come on my show, let's make up for that. So
yeah.
Could you talk about recidivism, what it really means?
Well, the rate of recidivism on the national level is above 70%. And what that means is that 70% of the men or women that get out of jail, within 3 years, they'll be back in jail. And so the goal of programs, the goal of Focus,